Hello, I'm Kobb Thongsai. I'm the head Muay Thai trainer here at Art of War MMA and Fitness.
And I'm Jason Georgianna. I'm the head MMA coach here at Art of War MMA and Fitness. We met in 2005 originally, and how we met was I was promoting events at that time, and one of his Muay Thai fighters was competing in one of my events, and this was before I moved to Eugene.
Legendary.
This kid was named Jesse, but yeah, and I remember him just throwing these murderous leg kicks at his opponent and making him, and I was just like, at that time I really didn't have any Muay Thai, I just had some boxing and grappling, and I was just like, I want to learn to kick like that. And so the next, I think it was about 6 months after that, I moved to Eugene, and he was the first phone call when I got to town, and I said, hey, I got a garage, and do you want me to come over to your, so sometimes I would go over to the community center at the apartments he lived at, and he would hold pads for me there. Sometimes he would come over to my little garage, and which was how I trained for several professional fights in that little garage. But it was actually like 3 months after we first started training together that he cornered me for the first time, and I got to throw a lot of kicks in that fight.
Yes.
And so that sort of hooked me on, how useful the Muay Thai art could be. And it just, it was a style that naturally made sense to me. It jibed with me. And so, it was a big part of kind of me feeling confident enough to be a professional MMA fighter.
You know what martial arts has done for me? I don't even know where to start. Martial arts has shaped my life. It's every day of my life. It's made me who I am today. It taught me how to get up every morning, don't give up. It taught me discipline. It taught me not to fear anything. And I know this sounds cliche, martial arts taught us. We're literally ancient warriors in a modern day world. And, and it taught me everything, how to be a better family man, businessman, taught me how to even speak, taught me how to be around crowds. It's everything. It's everything. That's why we're the Art of War.
Yeah. I mean, martial arts originally, I just got into it to learn some self-defense. And then I found I really liked it. I really liked jiu-jitsu. And then a few years after that, I started training in other styles. And it's just always been something that I found really interesting as an athletic challenge and as, the practical elements of being able to defend yourself. And like Coach Kobb said, feeling confident, not having to worry that you can't take care of yourself.
Exactly.
And also, it's really my main form of cardiovascular exercise that I like. I enjoy it much more than doing other traditional, endurance training. So for me, it's definitely my favorite form of cardio. And now, as a retired fighter, now I'm just a coach. So really, it's become just a great source of satisfaction for me watching all of the people that I train transform their lives. You have people that just come in here and they lose 50 pounds, and you have people that come in and develop self-confidence, and then you have some people that become great fighters too.
Yeah.
So for me, like at this stage of my life, I would say, the biggest thing I get out of martial arts, I do enjoy it myself, and I get exercise, and that's great, and that keeps me healthy, and it challenges my mind. But the biggest thing for me now is just seeing the growth of all my students and how I'm learning from my advanced students now. It's fantastic, versus when I first started training, I never would have imagined, all the things that I would learn. And I never would have imagined that you get to a point where then your own students, also become a really important thing for you to learn.
Exactly.
We can pick their brains, as these guys all develop and girls develop their specialties and their killer moves. And then I'll call on them. Hey, will you show us that? And so it's really cool to watch that.
As trainers, we grow just as long as they grow. We grow just alongside with them. And it's one of the happiest things to see our fighters, just not our fighters, just our clients, everybody in this gym, just watching them grow and progress. It's amazing, man.
Yeah. Because people get a lot of things out of this. Like I said, it could be as simple as weight loss. It could be some self-confidence. It could be just they go from knowing nothing to having amazing martial arts skills. Some of them become fighters, professional fighters. So I mean, I've seen, martial arts can mean different things to different people, but as coaches,
Yes.
For us to watch the development of all of our students, I mean, it's amazing. Well, I think it depends on the person. I try to get a sense of what arts that they're most interested in, so a lot of times new students will ask me, they'll be like, wow, what training program do you think I should do? And I said, well, really, I think it's you should start with what interests you the most, right? Because that's the easiest way to start, right? And then you could become interested in other things. And for some of my students who my new students who are very shy, for them, maybe starting in morning class times where there's less people is a great idea, or starting with private lessons can be less intimidating. That's worked for several people. And then when they get some confidence, then they're able to, go into the group classes. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times I think it just comes down to starting with what you're interested in. And then if possible, I'm always trying to introduce myself right away, and I'm trying to introduce my new students to other students so that at least when a shy new student comes in, they've got a couple people in class that they know, and they're like, oh, okay, I can warm up with this person, and then from there it grows, right, as they get comfortable. But it could be very intimidating at first, if you haven't done martial arts or if you didn't play sports, it can seem like a very daunting environment initially. So that's why, we try to I think the biggest thing is we just try to make a friendly atmosphere here, and, and that makes people much more comfortable.
But the most difficult part is getting here. That's the most difficult part.
Absolutely.
Is getting here. Yeah.
That's pretty much the old saying.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part is just going to the gym.
Just going to the gym. But once you're here, we'll take care of you.
Yep. We don't really have any maximum age. I mean, I've worked with people of all ages, and obviously I would train a 70-year-old differently than I would train a 20-year-old. And I think that's very important for my older students to realize, like, hey, you don't need to be training with quite the same level of gusto as a 20 or 30-year-old. We don't have kids classes here per se. I've let kids as young as like 12 or 13 participate in the adult classes, just depending on the kid, like some kids are very interested in martial arts and they're very mature for their age. And if they're able to have the attention span to stay focused for an hour-long adult class, great, come on in, Not all 12 and 13-year-olds are alike. So again, the minimum age is, I guess, somewhat flexible based on the kid and or the teenager, because we do have several teenagers in our classes. But I wouldn't really put a maximum age on martial arts. I hope I'll be doing martial arts my whole life. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to be doing them much differently, 20 or 30 years from now, if I'm still around, than I do right now. And I practice martial arts now much differently than I did when I was 20. Well, I would want them to contact me, give me a call, send me an email. A lot of times if people drop in, I'm busy at that time, so I think just reaching out to communicating with me ahead of time, then we can make an appointment. I can sit down with them and sort of talk about their goals and what they're wanting to get out of it. And, we do offer a free trial week. So once we kind of figure out with the student what they're interested in, then I can sort of, we can look at the schedule and figure out what times and classes would work for them. Mm-hmm. And then they can get out there, because ultimately, you kind of have to try some of these things. I've had people think that they were interested in one thing, mm-hmm. and then they ended up being, they thought they wanted to do jiu-jitsu, and then they ended up liking Muay Thai, or they thought that they wanted to do boxing, and then they ended up wanting to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately it comes down to, reach out to me. My number's all over the website, my email's all over the website. Reach out to me, and then I can figure out a time to meet with you, and then we can sort of make a plan to get you out on the mat and see how you like it.